Good evening. We're so glad to have you back for the show. I have an outstanding guest for the first part as well as for the second part. But I want to introduce someone to you that I think you're going to be very excited to hear about. I'm Tom Waters, your host, and I just want to take you on a trip to understand exactly what we're going to be talking about tonight. We're going to be talking about art initially. We have Donald C. Starr. He's an artist, and many people have not heard about him. But when you finish with this show this evening, you're going to be telling your friends all about him. This is an outstanding individual. He's also an Air Force veteran, and we'll get into that. Donald, welcome to the show.
Good to be here.
We're glad to have you on. Now, one of the things I want them to know is, who is Donald C. Starr?
Okay, who's Donald C. Starr? Okay, I'm originally from Wichita, Kansas.
Okay.
Born and raised there. I've lived all over the country.
Okay.
Moved here in 2014, and retired civil service worker.
Okay.
And my Air Force career, I spent 8 years in the Air Force.
8 years, okay.
Yeah.
Listen to that, veterans.
And I went from a base supply clerk to worked in personnel. I was in the administrative field when I first went in.
Okay.
And then I moved from there, and I found out I was an art student before I went in the Air Force. And I came up, and I went in '71, and I lost my student deferment.
Okay.
And I was getting ready to get drafted, and I called my mom, and I was at the University of New Mexico in my third year of college, I was a fine art student, and I told her, I'm coming home, I'm going to enlist. You know, I knew about the Air Force, so I enlisted. And it was a good thing. I matured and learned a lot of things. And of course, the military always matures you.
Oh, yeah. They have a way of doing that.
And I found it, my recruiter said, well, we don't have anything to deal with art. So that's how I got into
but your passion was art.
Yes, it's always been art. Okay. And ever since I was 5 that I can remember, I've been drawing. And my mother was a big inspiration for me.
Okay.
And I had a second grade teacher, and she always put on my report card, he's drawing all the time in class. And she told she wrote little notes to my mother all the time for encouragement, and said, this is what he likes to do, don't take him away. Okay. And my mother used to keep me busy in church, in the church pew there, and she'd give me the program, and I'd draw on the back of that. So I was always drawing, and when I had a high school reunion, my 20-year reunion, and some of the kids that I grew up with would say, oh, I remember you drawing and stuff. So I've always been involved in art, and that's why it's taken me some good experience in the art field. And when I was in the Air Force, I ended up, my last 4 years in the service, I ended up as a graphic specialist.
Oh, right in line with what you want to do.
Right, and I got out, and then I was a production artist in Seattle, Washington. Became a production artist. I got out. I had a friend in Seattle, and I moved up there, and he said, why don't you come up there? And we lived in Renton, Washington for a while.
Okay.
And I worked at a small production company. Then I got an offer to work for the Navy.
So Air Force and Navy.
Yeah,
okay.
And then back we moved from Seattle to Jacksonville, Florida.
Wow.
And I worked for a naval depot in a media department, and it was with naval aviation, and 3,000 civilian employees.
Wow.
We had 20 military bosses, and it was dealing with naval aircraft. We did different projects, training projects, did a lot of diagramming and charts and things like that, statistical stuff. Presentations and that type of thing, and we did a lot of things to support the facility there in Jacksonville, and I worked there for 13 years, and then I got an offer to work for the Department of Labor of all places. So I had a little diversity in my
You have really been
career.
around.
And I ended up working for the Department of Labor Mine Safety and Health Administration.
Okay.
And I ended up in a little town in called Beckley, West Virginia, and I worked for the National Mining Academy for mining inspectors there in Beckley. And I don't know if people remember Senator Byrd out of West Virginia. I think he was in the, one of the.
I remember him. I hope everybody
He's
does.
very powerful.
Yeah.
Everything's named in West Virginia after his name.
I can only imagine.
And so he lived in a little town called Sophia. So he brought that academy there. I didn't know anything about it. And they didn't tell me that I got hired as a video production officer there. And I had a graphics background, so they said, well, you're pretty versatile, so that's how I got hired there. And we did, we produced safety products for the mining industry to keep the miners safe.
Okay.
And I traveled a lot, been in a lot of coal mines, been in mines out here, worked with safety projects with Barrett Gold out here, went to Round Mountain for a couple of projects on some safety projects. So I've been all over the country. We used to do our mine rescue competitions that the government, our agency sponsored at that time. We used to come out here to Nevada for the competitions for what they call the mining administration is broken up 2 divisions. You have coal and metal, non-metal.
Okay.
And that's everything mined outside, all the ore mined outside of coal, the coal community.
Now,
so,
with all of this background, how does that relate to what you do as an artist?
Okay, well, I was doing, we did safety projects and did graphic design, illustrations, all things. We had a program called Illustration Accident Program where we illustrated accidents to help the miners, and we send these out nationwide to the different companies to help them. They had illustrations of accidents and stuff, former accident cases. It's kind of not a, I mean, it's based, our field was based on the accident trends in the mining industry, and it's pretty dangerous.
Yes, it would be.
Profession for the miners. A lot of people don't know that mining is to me, I would say in the top 5 dangerous professions. There's so many ways that you can have accidents in the mines. You know, you have roof falls, not only natural things that happen, but man-made accidents. We have explosions. I worked on 2 major investigations for the mining industry where they had, one was an explosion, one was, both of them were explosions, but one where they had fatalities. And our job was to go in, we were the experts on photographing in underground environments. So we went underground and photographed that.
Okay.
So I've always connected, and then I was with the art. There was always a connection with the art because we did posters on safety campaigns during the year. During the course of the year, they had different conditions that the miners had to be safe at. So we designed posters, and so the art was always there. And then while I was doing regular job, even when I was in the Air Force, on the weekends I would go do art festivals. And I would draw and paint, and I've always been a drawing because that's what I started out with. My mom couldn't afford paint, so I drew with pencils and stuff. So I always worked in the medias and stuff, and always connected. I can't remember a time when I wasn't doing an art festival outside of my regular.
You have a phenomenal background,
right? So,
and I think everybody appreciates all that, and they need to know more. So we want people to know who you are.
Right. So when I moved here, retired, and I said, well, I'm going to be a full-time artist. And I moved to Henderson in 2014.
Okay.
And we've been in Pahrump for just a little bit over 3 years.
Okay.
And so I've always connected. I was when I first got here, I got picked up by a gallery in the art district, and Priscilla Fowler's gallery in Las Vegas. And I had a studio in Vegas. We lived in Henderson. I had a small studio. I did projects. In 2018, I got an art grant from the Art Association of Nevada. And so I did some shows there in Carson City, and I do national shows as well. For example, in '85, I did a national show in Washington, D.C., and I did a show in L.A. So every once in a while, I don't do too many international stuff, but regional shows I do. I've been all over the country. I've always shown in exhibits, and even in Jacksonville, when I lived in Jacksonville, I did shows, and we did shows locally, and I try to get myself out there. And when I got to Nevada, found out they had a really good network for galleries in Vegas. So I've done shows in the local. The city of Las Vegas has a really good gallery system. I just recently finished a show at the West Las Vegas Art Culture Center on Lake Mead Avenue. Went from December to February of this year, and it was based on my background, my heritage. And my heritage is I'm a member of the Cherokee Nation.
Okay.
And I'm what they call a Cherokee freedman descendant. My father was a Cherokee freedman, and if you don't know what Cherokee freedmen are, they are slaves that were owned by the Cherokee Nation. And so a lot of people don't know about that, and even some of the tribal members don't. So I've done national shows with the Cherokee Nation. I'm becoming a recognized Cherokee artist. And so I'm really proud of that. It's my father's heritage. My father and my grandmother were all in the slave, families were all in the slave system of the Cherokee Nation. They owned slaves. And so when you heard the famous Trail of Tears, they had slaves with them. They came and resettled in Oklahoma. But anyway.
Donald, we are going to get into that. I know because we're going to be showing a lot of your art. We're going to be talking about your background. I love the fact that you already brought in the culture, and you're talking about the Cherokee. People need to hear more. So we're going to ask you to come back in our next session. We're going to be talking about Donald's art. You're going to see some of it and see exactly what it is we're talking about. So come back and join us. Welcome back. We're so glad to have you back with us. Now, I have Donald C. Starr. He's an artist, and I know you've already been listening to his background and everything that he's already done. The fact that he's a veteran, the whole bit. But you need to talk about his art. And he already talked about being part of the Cherokee Nation. Now, this is something I didn't know when I first met him. But I saw his art, I listened to some of the things that he said, and I was just blown away. I said I need to have him on my show. So that's why he's here tonight. And Donald, again, I'm impressed with what you've said, but we want to see some of the art and have you tell us about the art, how it connects to the Cherokee Nation, just everything you've got.
Okay. All right, that sounds good. Okay, we have one of my pieces. I just completed this this year, and currently it's in it got accepted to the Cherokee Homecoming art show that's going on right now in the nation. As a matter of fact, it starts this weekend.
What is this denote in this picture?
This is on the Cherokee history, on my heritage, there's a lot of unwritten history about the Cherokee freedmen. And the freedmen, they were enslaved, and they just like they had the same slave laws that they had in the rest of the country. And they hunted, they fished, they cooked for their Cherokee masters, and so I just had to do a rendition of and they had the same practices as the Cherokee, used the same hunting practices as the Cherokee Nation. So this piece is an oil painting, and I wanted to depict these are Cherokee freedmen fishing in a river there in the territory. And that's the depiction of them fishing, and you'll see in the picture it has them fishing with bows.
Oh, okay.
Cherokee Nation, some of their techniques is to fish with bow hunters. Okay. And so the freedmen did the same kind of practices. Some of their duties as slaves were to hunt and feed their slave masters and serve and cook. They had the same slave laws as they did when they were in the Southeast. They were slave holders before the Trail of Tears, and they brought their slaves with them, and so the same practices were done. And so I just want to, there hasn't, my heritage, once I found out that my father was a Cherokee freedman, it inspired me. And I didn't know all these years, my mother never talked about it, he never talked about it.
Okay.
He was born in 1902, and my mother was born in 1910, right after the century change there, and he grew up in the territories. He was born in Muskogee. So there's a lot of hidden history, and a lot of people don't know that we have our own history as well as Cherokee freedmen. And so my art has evolved. I started out, just doing general art. I like doing people a lot in my drawings, and I'm a people person, and I like showing character and moods of people and that type of thing. And if you go on my website, you'll find the different types of variances of my art styles and stuff, and I work in all the medias now. And I just started working in oil about about 2 or 3 years.
Okay.
When I moved to Nevada, I started moving more in oils because I was a pastel and pencil drawer, and I went for that. So I'm doing a lot more painting now. But my goal is to show Cherokee heritage, because it's not written anything, and there's books. I found there's a lot of literature.
Most of your paintings are about the Cherokee?
Now they're leaning toward that, yes,
Okay.
because I'm taking part in a lot of the Cherokee Nation art competitions.
If they go to your website and they're looking at all the paintings,
Yes.
is most of it going to be about the Cherokee Nation?
No, well, no. There's other paintings in there.
Tell us about
generalized.
it.
Well,
Tell us about it. Yes.
I have, when I lived here in Vegas, I did a lot of stuff, different subject matters. I like street people. I hate to say homeless. I got pictures of that.
Okay.
I got people of. I got some pictures that I did at the Martin Luther King. One year, I went to the Martin Luther King parade there in Vegas, and I did some photo references, and I got pictures of that. So I have a variety of a lot of things. I don't do.
Can we look at some more of your pictures right now?
Well, that's Cherokee Bill. He was a famous outlaw in the Cherokee Nation, and there's a really good book written about him. There's only like 2 pictures. He died. He only lived to 20 years old.
Oh man.
And he killed his first man at age 15 there in the territory.
Okay.
But he was a bank robber and well famous. He was so famous that, I mean, people were so fearful of him. When they knew he was in the area, it was kind of like a criminal alert. He says, don't, the people would,
Okay.
don't go out to your, don't go out if you see him, because he's dangerous. He was liable to shoot you.
Oh, gee.
But he was an excellent marksman too. I mean,
Wow.
he could ride a horse. He was really good with a rifle, long rifle. And so at that time, which would be a Winchester or whatever that caliber weapon was, but real famous. There's some other pieces here. I just finished this. This piece was taken by the Cherokee Nation as what they call an art recovery program for Cherokee artists. And I'm considered a Cherokee artist, and I did this a rendition. Corn is real sacred in the Cherokee Nation.
Okay.
And so I did this rendition. They do corn festivals, and it's kind of a seasonal thing, and they opened up the seasons, the growing seasons there in the Cherokee Nation with corn festivals, traditionally what they used to do. And so corn is really sacred in the Cherokee Nation. So that's an oil painting of that. So, and then this is based on our heritage. There's never been any images of black slaves on the Cherokee Trail of Tears. So nobody knows about it, that they had slaves.
Very true.
On the Trail of Tears. And they were, this is a 5x7 oil painting that I did, and it just showed that, I just had this at a show that I mentioned earlier in the earlier program at the West Las Vegas Cultural Center. And it depicts Cherokee freedmen slaves on the trail, and it has a map of the trail, actual trail routes that were on the forced removal, what they call the forced removal. And then also a depiction down in the lower right corner is they call it flatboats, and they also transported tribal members that came out of the Mississippi regions.
Okay.
They transported them by water down to Arkansas, and then they got on the hard trail. But they had water transportation too. A lot of them, they brought them down on steamboats and towed.
So all this
these,
is educational.
boats, yes.
In addition to everything you're bringing up.
Right. So my goal is to do more pieces to show our history, because it's hidden.
Okay.
And so that's my goal, and I'm kind of leaning toward that now, from moving away from my traditional art that I had before, where I have just people scenes. I like doing. Sometimes I take my camera with me whenever I travel around, and I would see interesting characters. I like people with character and stuff, and I would do these renditions of different people doing things and stuff like that in everyday life, you know. So this piece here, I won a Emerging Artist Award in the Cherokee Nation as an emerging Cherokee artist, and this one's called Cherokee Freedman, and it's a 5x7 oil painting. And this is in the National Cherokee Museum, Historical Museum.
Wow.
It travels around with exhibit. They have a wonderful exhibit on Cherokee freedmen history. And they saw this and they obtained it from me. And so it's in their permanent collection now. So I'm really thrilled about that, because I have 3 grandsons, and I want them to know that,
absolutely,
you know, that Papa has got something in a museum.
This is educational, so everybody needs to know about this.
Oh, yes.
Not just your family, but everybody, because that's, like you said, it's something that could be lost completely if you don't bring it out.
That's true.
I love this art.
Okay, well, thank you. All right, and I try to, with my practices and stuff, I try to use each artist has his own skills and levels of doing things and different techniques and stuff. And I just started painting. I used to not paint a lot. I used to draw, because that's what I grew up with, you know. And I like painting now, and I'm learning. Each time you do something, you get better, you know.
That's true.
So that's what I'm concentrating on, and it's worked out pretty good. A lot of people have a lot of interest in my history. There was a group that saw my exhibit. I had 14 pieces dealing with Cherokee freedmen history at this last show I did in Vegas. And I had a group from Miami, Florida. They were there visiting in Vegas, and they didn't even know that the Cherokees had slaves. But that's another aspect of American history.
Education.
You know, and then,
now, if people, I know, just watching this program, people are going to want more information. I know we've had your website up on the screen, so we're going to ask them if you're interested in seeing anything that Donald C. Starr has put together. Go to his website. You'll find more information there. But if they wanted to just talk to you, what would they need to do?
Well, they can. It has my contact information on the website, so they can email me, or I have an email addresses on the sites themselves. And
Sounds great.
I'm also on Instagram too, Star Images Drawings. So, or they can just Google Donald, Instagram Donald Starr.
Okay.
And it should come up.
You know how to get in touch with him. You've seen some of the art. This is just phenomenal. When I first saw his art and listened to his initial presentation, I knew I wanted to have him on the show. That's why he's here tonight, and I hope you appreciate everything he's talked about, everything he's gone through. His background is just amazing. And just to hear everything that he's gone through to learn how to do what he's doing today. And then to hear about everything with the Cherokee Nation, I think is just, like I said, I believe in education. My background is education as well, and I'm just impressed by you. Well, I just want to thank you for being on the show.
Well, I'm glad I could be here and share my life, so to speak.
Okay, want you to come back for our next session because we have another outstanding guest for you. Thank you. Welcome back. I'm so glad to have you back with us. I have another outstanding guest for you. And it's somebody that you're very familiar with, Fred Wagar, W-A-G-A-R. For most people who don't know how to spell his name, like me sometimes. But anyway, Fred has been on the show several times. He's talked about so many different things, but always talking about veterans, their benefits, and things that we can do for veterans. So for those veterans out there, or anybody that knows a veteran, that should be everybody, Fred is on the program tonight. He's here to talk about a lot of things that happen with the legislature. I know that a lot of us have tried to keep up with the legislature. Fred does that for us. So Fred, again, I want to welcome you to the show and thank you for being here, because the things that you do for us, for all veterans, I'm going to say for veterans and their families, is just phenomenal. Well, but I do want to talk about your titles, because right now you're the Nevada VFW Southern State Legislative Chair, which means you're looking at all the things that the legislature does. And for DAV, you're the Benefits Protection Team Leader. So when we look at everything that you're doing so much for veterans.
Well,
and we really appreciate this.
It's a passion, and as you know, when you have a passion, it's not work. It's a lot of fun. So aggravating it sometimes, and we're going to talk about legislation today. So I'll try not to show too much aggravation when we don't get things passed, but that happens, and that's part of the system we live in.
Absolutely.
So, today's all about legislation, and so that DAV title is actually, they changed it. There used to be legislative chair, and now it's benefits protection team, and so both of those positions tie together. One's VFW, one's DAV, Disabled American Veterans, and so I was happy to do that this year and argue during hearings and testify in support of bills. And this year I didn't have to testify against any. We had a couple that we were looking at and they didn't bring them up, so we're happy about that.
Okay.
But it's a great time, and if you want, we can just start right in with the different bills.
I think we need to start right in.
I think so, because we're limited time.
We're not only limited time, but I think the way you're going to explain it is so everybody understands exactly what we're talking about.
Exactly. So this year, now last session, we had a 65% success rate on veterans that we tracked.
Okay.
It was amazing. We dropped down. This year it was 47%, less than half were in our favor. But we'll talk about that a little bit as well. So I just want to go through the bills first on the positive side, which ones passed and what they do, and then we'll come back. I know we have two segments, so try to cover this in the first segment, and in the second segment we can talk about, and not to point out legislators for voting a certain way. It's to point out to you in the community, you need to contact these. It can't be just Fred Wagar or Andy LaPeelbet, who's up in Reno, and some of the others. You've got to help us, and that was probably the most frustrating thing this year.
How can we help you?
So you're going to get my email up here in a little bit, and so when that's posted, please write that down. Let's get together. It's on the screen now. Get that email, fwagar@gmail.com, and contact me, and we'll get you signed up for the United Veterans Legislative Council. And we've got a whole new team on that this year.
Okay.
Brand new chair and vice chair. I was elected to the board on that, and I'm very happy to do that. We have to do a much better job of reaching out to the veterans and saying, you need to come now.
Yes.
You need to be in the building.
Okay.
Because when they have the hats in the room, you've got your Purple Heart on. And by the way, to all the Purple Heart veterans, last week we just had our Purple Heart Purple Heart ceremony right here in Pahrump. So thank you for your service and your commitment and your sacrifice. Getting back to the legislation, I want to talk about the first bill that was passed on the list, and I do them in alphanumeric order. And you can get a copy of this if you email me at fwagar@gmail.com.
So everything you're talking about tonight, they can get an email?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And so I highlight the red ones didn't get passed. The green ones did, and you'll see that. And I name names, but that's not to embarrass them. That's to say, hey, that's the people you need to reach out to and say, here's why this bill is important during the next session. So
Gotcha. Okay.
AB 41 was just adding more positions and duties for the National Guard, and we supported that. And that passed. A lot of these were signed just the last few days of the session. So that was approved by the governor on May 29th after it had passed the Assembly and the Senate.
Now, Fred, a lot of people don't know that our legislature only meets once every other year.
And only for 120 days.
Yes.
It's not a lot of time. And when you have 1,100 bills to consider, they don't have time to look at this. So that's why it's important for our veterans to contact our
Absolutely.
legislators. AB 43 was contracting procedures, giving veterans a little better advantage on how to do contracts with the state and get contracted. So we're doing that. We had one that was done by Assemblyman Hafen down here, a counseling compact. We watch compacts because we want to do compacts with other states where a spouse of a service member is doing a job in another state, licensed and everything. The compact would then allow them to immediately go to work here in Nevada if their spouse is transferred to, say, Nellis Air Force Base, something like that. And so Assemblyman Hafen did AB 163, and it passed the House or the Assembly and the Senate and approved by the governor on June 10th, which was actually after the session ended, but the bills had passed before that. AB 177 was primary sponsor was Gonzalez and co-sponsor was Brown May. And this had to do with the fees for licensing of military personnel and veterans in audiology and pathology. And so it makes it easier for them to get licensed. So we hire more veterans, use more veterans. And then there was a compact for audiology and speech language. That was AB 230 with Assemblywoman Marzola. And that one passed as well and was signed into law on June 5th. Again, they all have to go through their respective side, Assembly or Senate. Then it goes to the other side, Assembly or Senate, and then it goes to the governor, passes both houses. So Assemblyman Marzola got the physical therapy and licensure compact through. These compacts are really important, and we've fought them in the past, and now they're coming around to saying, you know, we need more people in the state to do these jobs. So I'm very happy with these bills that come through like this. Assemblyman or the Assembly Government Affairs Committee sponsored AB 281, and this one is regarding compensation if disabled on state active duty. Before, you couldn't get the same benefits as an active duty soldier if you were on active duty for state purposes, and now you've got some compensation coming if you get disabled. So that's a great one. AB 336 has to do with state purchasing, and so it makes it easier for service-connected veteran-owned businesses to get contracts with the state. And so that's a really good one, and that passed and was signed into law, I believe, on June 6th. Again,
very important.
Yeah, very important. So then AB 350, this was from the Committee on Judiciary, and it had to do with state veterans cemeteries exempt from different revisions under NRS regarding cemeteries. And so they had this bill that was going to be more restrictive for cemeteries, and they excluded the state veteran cemeteries. And so that's a good bill, and we were watching that, of course. We had a couple of license plate bills. One was, the primary sponsor was, again, Assemblyman Hafen. That was a bipartisan one because you had Assemblyman De Silva and Gray out of, Gray is up north, and De Silva is a Purple Heart veteran out of Las Vegas.
Do you remember what that one was all about?
Yeah, that was, maybe I don't. Yeah. Oh, this was to add Space Force, the Air Force Cross, Coast Guard Cross, Distinguished Service Cross, Navy Cross. And so all of those, you can get a specialty license plate now.
Yes.
So that was a good one. Assembly Ways and Means was transferring the Department of Emergency Management. So during COVID, the Department of Emergency Management went over to the National Guard, and this brought it back and put it under the governor's office.
Okay.
And then we had the appropriation to Department of Service, Veterans Services to be able to buy more vehicles and machinery. So that one passed as well. Appropriations to the Office of the Military, the National Guard, for different projects and programs passed. And the emergency medical responders, letting those who served in the military and did medical, let them have a better chance on getting certified in the state to do that job.
Fred, I'd like to go ahead and emphasize to everybody that all the things that Fred's talking about right now, these are things he's been tracking since day one for all of us. So now he's giving us an update of exactly what occurred.
Yeah, there are some other ones, and again, I want you to go and get to my email address, and if you want a copy of this, I will email it immediately. I am going to be attending the DAV National Convention for the next week, but contact me. I've got my phone, and that'd be great. And I know we're down to about a minute, and so I do want to talk about they are allowing JROTC trainers who have been certified to now train and teach in the state of Nevada. So that's big.
Fantastic.
They got a Senate bill authorizing certain counties to establish programs to adopt animals, and this is for both first responders and veterans, and it wouldn't cost them anything.
Okay.
So that's a good one.
Fred, I'm gonna go ahead and say.
Well, let me just address SJR1. This is a joint
ahead.
resolution. These don't have anything to do with state legislation, but if they pass them, it recommends to Congress, and this was allowing spouses to receive their full spouse's benefits when they die.
Okay.
That's the approved.
Those are the ones that are approved. Come back and join us, and Fred will go over all the other ones with you, and we'll recap exactly what we're talking about. Welcome back. We're so glad to have you back with us. This is our final session, but there's so much more to cover. So I'm going to turn it right back to Fred Weiger. He's going to go ahead and give you the rest of the information and maybe summarize some of the things he's already covered. Fred, all yours.
So in the first session, as just a reminder, we talked about kind of how the process works and the bills that we were able to get passed. And there were 18 of those. Unfortunately, we had 20 that were defeated.
Okay.
And so I'm not going to cover them all. Again, if Mikey can put up the email and maybe just leave it up while I'm talking, because I really want you to email me. I will get you this report. I will answer any questions you might have and help you guide along the way. But I do want to talk about the first actual bill, AB 23, was out of the Assembly Government Affairs Committee, and they proposed it, and it had to do with projects and other things, construction projects, especially for the National Guard, and it actually ended up not going anywhere. So AB 23 on April 12th, reminder that session started in February. So on April 12th of 2025, it was posted standing rule number 14.3.1, no further action allowed. In other words, no action was taken in the first, I think it's 60 days, and if it didn't happen in 60 days, it's done. And so you see that, if you get my report, you'll see that on different ones. There is bidding and procedures one. We talked about one that passed, there was one that failed, and sometimes that happens. It's duplicate. Okay. So the occupational therapy licensure compact did not, it was defeated. Sometimes there's involvement with unions that say we don't want any of that, but I'm not going to blame the unions on that. I don't remember them testifying on anything this year. But that one failed. Tax exemptions for veterans and surviving spouses, that was the one to increase the tax exemptions that we have here in Nevada, and that one didn't go. Dentist and dental hygienist compact failed. That didn't get the votes needed. I will talk about this one a little bit more, and that's Assembly Bill 145. And we talked about that the last time I was here before the session, and we really thought we had a good chance of getting that through. This one is regarding the companies that come into Nevada and convince veterans they can do a better job on getting their compensation faster and better, which is not correct. I will state that right up front. Do it the right way with a approved, licensed person, and you'll be fine. These folks aren't even, they don't have any accountability to anybody but themselves. And they say that. They say, well, we're accountable to ourselves. But the problem was they wanted this thing to be redone to say they could charge up to $12,500 to help you with a claim, when it's free. And the VA doesn't want them helping with upfront costs, but they're skirting the law, and we're working with our federal delegation, and we're hoping this would go a long way. They had the owner, the spouse, employees, and one lobbyist in the building 120 days just telling everybody how terrible this bill was. And it wasn't. It was, hey, let's get you to do it legally. And they didn't want to do that. So, or at least they were skirting the law. And so AB 145 was defeated because it ended up in the Ways and Means Committee. And the old saying I used to say when we were with the state was, if you want something to die, send it to Ways and Means. It's Ways and Means is the money committee, and so we lost it. And so that was a heartbreak. It was locked up on June 2nd, 2025. The chair of the Ways and Committee meeting said, I'm not moving it forward. And they have that power.
No, Fred, I know you haven't said it, but we have so many veterans that have lost so much money by paying these people for something that a veteran service officer and the VA does for free. And they will charge. And the veterans are thinking they're getting their full benefits, and yet they're paying this company to do something that's free for them already. They've already earned it, but yet veterans are being taken. Yeah. And so, which means we need to talk to our legislature or legislative body, the people who represent us, Assembly and the Senate, and let them know, look, we need this passed.
Yeah, we're working on this. Of course, we're working on it with our federal delegation as well. And you know, the 3 of the 4 congressional folks in the House have signed on to the bill, the GUARD Act, which is guarding against these kind of acts. And and then both senators, it hasn't been reintroduced by the person that did it last time, and they got to wait for that person to reintroduce it. Okay. And they've also committed that they will sign on to these bills. Okay. They want to help, but the federal takes a lot longer. We were hoping we'd get it fixed right here in Nevada, and that didn't happen. And they are spending money. The company in 2023 spent $80,000 on lobbyists. And 24, they spent over $800,000. Did I say 80,000? It's 800,000. $800,000 in 2024, and it appears they're going to have to spend a lot more money in 2025 because we're not the only state trying to do this. And they're traveling all over the country, and they're making statements that are not necessarily true. The lobbyist actually told one of the other legislators, "Well, I don't know what the assemblyman is all worried about. He used the company," and that was an out-and-out lie. My mother told me, if it's a lie, say so. And so I will tell you right now that the assemblyman who sponsored the bill, Assemblyman De Silva, never used this company. Okay. So I want that out there. We had a number of I think I mentioned that was 145, so 157. Had to do with court martials. National Guard members are not entitled to request a court martial. They can get what's the 15? Article 15. Article 15. They can get them all day long, and they can't appeal them. There's no recourse from the service member side. And so we're hoping that would pass, and that went down again. That was the same thing last session. I don't know why, or who's arguing against it.
So you're saying once they get it, they can get an Article 15, but they cannot request a court-martial in lieu of the Article 15?
National Guard can't do it in Nevada.
But you can do it on active duty.
You can do it in active duty. And so that's why we have to update our state laws to say they should be allowed court-martial so they can present their side. They can
Absolutely.
They can have representation and present their side.
As
so
a commander, I did a lot of Article 15s, but everybody had the opportunity to go to court-martial if they wanted.
Yeah, you bet. So there was some public works ones, employment of honorably discharged veterans, tax exemption for Gold Star family members. So that AB 145 also had a piece on it that had employment for veterans, and we were going to codify into law. It's been done by executive order from Governor Sandoval, then Governor Sisolak. It's still going on under Governor Lombardo, but for whatever reason, they don't want to put it in law, so it's there all the time. Another governor could come in and say, nope, I'm getting rid of that. So we want to make sure that's codified. And so that had that piece in it, and it also had Gold Star spouses being able to enter state parks and recreation areas for free, because one piece of that bill went down due to the claim sharks. The other two pieces went down too.
Wow.
So that was unfortunate.
Okay.
Physical therapy, that was passed. Waiving certain fees for businesses for relating to veterans, that did not pass. There was, and these usually don't go through, and that is, there was an appropriation requested for the construction of a Veterans and Community Center in Virginia City, Nevada. This year, money was short, and so I kind of wondered if that would go anywhere, and it never left the first committee. And so they knew it was going to be expensive.
Okay.
And usually they don't do something like that for one community. Not always, but usually not one for one without thinking, okay, now we're going to have to do that for everybody. So there may have been a reason for that. This one really disappointed me, and that's designating March as Women Veterans History Month. Women don't get enough credit for what they do in the military.
Not at all.
And when you see a female come into, let's say, our VFW or DAV or any of the organization, they walk in, and the first thing that comes out of a guy's mouth, oh, are you here for the auxiliary? No, I served in the Army. I served in the Air Force. And so we wanted to do that month. And so it passed all the committees. It passed the Assembly. It passed the Senate. And on June 2nd of 2025, the governor vetoed it. And I don't understand why. I heard that he said, well, I do a proclamation anyway. Well, yeah, that doesn't mean the next governor might do it. Yeah. We want to lock that in so women are recognized. And that one was, I was really surprised because I guess he served in the military. I thought he'd back the women veterans on this, and I'm not speaking ill will of him. I was just surprised that he didn't sign that.
That surprises anybody.
Yeah. Yes. There were other ones as well, and we got way too many to talk about with about a minute left. But I just want to say again, my email is up there. Thank you for them doing that, because it's important that you get involved. And I'm asking you right now, get involved. Contact me, email me. I will set you up so you get emails from the United Veterans Legislative Council, who watches all kinds of bills. So this report is from VFW and DAV. There's also one going to come out from UVLC and NDVS, Nevada Department of Veteran Services. So there's going to be maybe a little more in depth in certain areas, but this is the ones we track for VFW and DAV. And I want to share it with everybody possible and answer questions and get you involved. So I appreciate the time today. This has been great.
We are so glad to have you here, and we're so glad that you're looking at Fred's email address. Make sure you contact him, let him know, look, I'd like a copy of that report, and then follow up with your legislative body. whether it's Assembly or the Senate, to make sure these are passed in the future. Fred's going to keep us informed. You need to stay informed. And then come back and join us next month.